welcome to Solo Playthroughs. It's a very special episode today because it is time for my quarterly top 10. Oh, yes, it is. And there is no other game due for a top 10 from me than this one. That's right. I've already done Arkham LCG. I have done Mage Knight. I have done Spirit Island. Next up is Gaia Project. That's correct. We have featured 13 of the 14 factions on the channel. We got the best gods coming up next month. So if you're a Gaia Project fan, tune in for that craziness because that's going to be super fun. I'll make that one live again. But look, I've really enjoyed the channel giving me this extra incentive to really work through these various factions. It's an amazing game. And I'll tell you what, this list is 100% going to be my list based on what faction, what I feel the most confident with going into a singular game. Because the way Gaia Project changes up the victory conditions and changes up what's going to give you points and changes up the map and changes up the round boosters, it's such a different game every time. And I've learned a lot in how to play this game better. And my subscribers have been a huge part of that. The comments on my early videos, not only getting some of the nitty gritty and the rules correct that I had a little bit wrong, but just talking about strategy and talking about different tracks and research areas, just a huge part of my growth in this game. So you will see probably a little bit of weighting toward the factions that I've featured more recently, as opposed to some of the originals, because I feel really confident with those factions because I just got better with the game, right? So that's an awesome part about the depth of this game. I've been so impressed with Gaia Project as I go from faction to faction and see just how much difference there is in asymmetry there is in the different factions, not only with the factions too. I mean, you could also talk about the various automas and how different they play. It's not like as crazy as Spirit Island different in, the adversary, but there's real differences in how those automas play, what you need to be concerned about when you're up against them, and how a game's going to feel if you're going against Hashalas versus the Taklons versus the Geodens. And it all makes a huge difference. And now, as I try to factor all of that, picking a top faction is going to be really just more, hey, I think this faction will win more games out of 100. Randomly choosing opponent, randomly choosing board, randomly choosing all of it, then let's say all the other factions that are below it, right? So just kind of keep that in mind as we go forward. Really hope there's some robust discussion about these factions, and there's probably one or two I really need to take another look at because I'm probably missing some strength. And if there's any that I'm overweighting, I really look forward to having conversations about that too. But man, I've yammered on enough. So I'm going to leave that as a little bit of a disclaimer in this list. Again, a top 10 list, my opinion. We all know that by now. We're adults here, right? Cool. Let's move on. I'll also add that this is specifically for solo play, right? So my list of top factions is going to be, hey, more geared for Automa than necessarily competitive games, where some of y'all probably have more experience than me, and maybe some of these factions that are great solo aren't as good competitive, and maybe some factions that are not that great solo might really shine more when there's two or three other players at the game, where you can kind of take advantage of certain things, right? So there's 14 factions, right? So I can't really talk about 10 of them without talking about the other four. That'd be a little silly, right? So I'm not going to make this a top 14 because I'm not going to rank those in the bottom four. And in fact, I just grabbed the four mats in my hand and they're in no specific order. But I'm going to talk about why the bottom four are in the bottom four. Where are we starting with? The Lantids. Hello, dolphin people. How are you today? That's right. Just stand there and look at me with your little flipper hands crossed over each other. Whatever. Look, the Lantids are fine. They're decidedly fine. I kind of like what they can do, especially in a competitive game. I've had some fun times of saying, oh, you think you are going to take that planet from me, but I'm going to take it anyway, right? Just build that mine wherever the heck you want it. The problem with the Lantids is eventually you're going to need to do something else. And then you have all these mines that are just kind of stuck in spaces and you can't upgrade them. So you have to be really strategic and careful about how many times you use that ability. Yeah, you can get 2 knowledge a couple times. You only have 8 mines though. You're going to need a couple for actual upgrading. So how much knowledge are you really getting out of that ability? I just find them a cool idea, from what I understand is they used to be a little bit overpowered and then they were kind of brought down back to Earth and maybe they went a little bit below Earth and maybe we're not on Earth at all because we're in space and this is Gaia Project. But that's the Lantids. What's next? We have the Gleans. All right. Well, look, that faction token's cool. It's not so cool though that it kind of makes up for the rest of this garbage. Not being able to get QIC, you can only get ore. That's really rough. How many sky planets you really going to settle on in a game just to get the 2 points each? Gleans, yeah, not really working for me. It is not easy being Glean. We're gonna move on. The best gods. Yeah, I haven't even put them on the channel. Already ragging on them. Sorry, robot man. It's just that you're weird and you require a totally different approach to play. And I don't even know what's happening. And going up in the research area that you're behind in isn't usually what you want to do. You want to go up in the research area where you're ahead. You want to get up to that level 4, 5, and 6. So if you're making me go up 1 on the knowledge track in round 6, I really don't care. And then finally, the Baltax. I actually had fun with the Baltax when I played them, and you learn to lean into Gaia forming and getting those Gaia formers and turning them into QICs. And there's a lot going on here. I just don't find them all that strong. And again, once you're hindering me in that navigation track from the beginning, it does make for an interesting play. They just kind of fell outside the top 10. And speaking of top 10, I just said the magic phrase, right? Let's get to it. Number 10. And number 10 is the Neblas. Now, look, if there's ever a faction that's going to suffer from being one of the first to be featured on the channel, it'd probably be the first one I featured on the channel, which was the case with Mr. Blue Hair over here. Look, they're a cool faction. I just don't love the amount of pressure that gets put on that third part of that power cycle. Because normally you're spending that power to do power QIC actions. Now, yeah, great. I can now spend 1 for a knowledge and I can spend 1 as 2 and it kind of nets me even, but you're still putting a whole lot of focus on how you spend things out of that third bin of your power cycle. And you're taking away all the research that I want that's here. So it's just weird. I can only do that special action so many times. I need to use that power cycle for other things. I do owe it to the Neblas to give them another spin. It's been a while, obviously, and I've had a lot more experience learning how to win knowledge-based games and going up the knowledge track. The fact that you start on level 1, you're getting 1 extra knowledge a game. I could see how it may come together a little bit better. But right now, where I'm standing, Neblas, they're in top 10, but just barely. They're number 10 for me. And number 9. Number 9 is the Crazy Space Chickens, Hashalas. Woo! I'll tell you what. I am surprised that they're number 9. I really thought that Hashalas was going to be awesome. By the time I got to them, Hashalas had kicked my butt so many times as the Atoma that I just kind of expected the Atoma stuff. And then, wait, no, the Atoma's got its own thing going on. You still have to play the game like normal. Well, like, normal relative to the faction you're playing with. And Hashalas does not come together for me in a way that inspires confidence in me. And I think it's similar to the Neblas in that you're asking me to do multiple things with the same resource, right? I mean, the power in Neblas is being asked to do multiple things. And now similarly, credits for Hashalas is being asked to do multiple things. You're treating it like power, but I need the credits to do everything else on the board. I mean, the things on the board are just as expensive as they always were, dude. Like, you still have to spend 6 for an academy. You're still spending 6 for a trading station if you're not in the neighborhood of the Atoma. So at some point, something's got to give. I mean, yeah, you start at +1 on the economic track. Well, most of the time, you're going up the economic track anyway. And most of the time, you still feel credit poor all the time. How do I have these extra credits lying around that I can just turn into a QIC or turn into an ore or whatever? It's like, dude, that's what power is for. That's what the power QIC actions are for. So I just find their whole economy, at some point, you're just always going to be credit poor because you're spending credit on all these other things. And again, maybe it's just one of those things I got to go back, really think about it again, and play some more games under different conditions and see different layouts, and maybe something else I can piece together. But as it is right now, sorry, Space Chickens, you're amazing in so many ways, and I wish you were the mascot for a minor league baseball team, but you are number 9. Now, moving on to number 8. Number 8 is the Geodens. Another one that surprises me is this low when I really sat down and thought through who I have the most confidence with. I don't have that much confidence with the Geodens. Now, I find the Geodens super fun to play. I love leaning into that terraforming track. I love that puzzle of trying to get on all the various planet types so I can get all that good knowledge, right? That's great. But woo, I don't know. There's just something that falls apart with the GNS for me in games where the end game scoring tiles do not align with the number of different sectors or the number of different planets that you've colonized. Obviously, that's huge for the GNNs. I just find them really vulnerable to the round boosters and the end game scoring mechanics more than a lot of the other factions because they're so one tracked in that terraforming mindset. It just hinders them in so many games that I'm like, oh, I like the GNs. Can I see the end games going first? Because if certain things are there, I'm gonna love them. But if the end game scoring is all about Gaia planets, or if the round boosters are all about Gaia planets and trading stations, it's like, well, that's not gonna really go well with what I'm trying to do, which is trying to check off every box, and I'm gonna get some knowledge out of it. Great, I love knowledge, but you win by points. You can give me all knowledge in the world and you might not win. Like I've definitely had multiple games with the GNs where it's like, I did it. I checked off all the boxes. I got to every planet type and I still lost by 15. Not a good situation, but they're very cool. They're super fun to play. And for those games where those scoring tiles are lined up, woo, watch out. Super, super force. And I'll have all the confidence in the world. It's just more of a mixed bag for me than the other factions that are higher in this list. So that is my number 8. The GNs. Moving on to number 7. Number 7, the latest arrival to the scene of solo playthroughs. We have the Swampers themselves with the Ambas. Woo! Man, I love how they play. I love being able to just do a mine trading station. Oh, I'm going to move my planetary institute over here. Look at that. Now I have a federation. You're guaranteed 4 federation tiles pretty much every game, like if not 5 or 6. It's a pretty sick ability. I like how you're getting your resources and your economy from those federation tokens, and you just have so much maneuverability from round to round. You saw the playthrough I did, if you watched it, where like I went in thinking I was going to do one thing and I ended up doing this whole other thing, and the Ambas have that flexibility built in to make that possible because you're always pretty close to another federation tile with another shot in the arm of points and another shot in the arm of whatever resource you need at the time. It's just a really cool faction. I find them super flexible. And I do think that we are starting to see a gap now between my number 8 and my number 7. Ambas and the other 6 at the top of it, I do feel really confident in more games than not, just because I find their systems and their engines like really, really adaptable to a lot of different circumstances. So love the Ambas, love how they work. Very, very cool faction. No special ability, but a hugely important Planetary Institute ability. And once you unlock that and you're hopping all over the cosmos with your Planetary Institute, it's a really, really nice way to play the game. So the Ambas holding strong at number 7. Number 6. Number 6 is the Itars. What are you talking about? Look at those cuddly space yetis at work, man. I don't know why I remember all the stupid titles I call these things over the months. I just do. It's crazy. But the space yetis are freaking cool as well. Super fun to play. That idea of getting tech tiles, but you got to be careful, right? It's kind of like the Geodens where it's like, look, I could get all the planet types and still lose by a bundle because I have all this knowledge, or I had all these jumps up the research tracks, but I didn't get enough points in anything else. I definitely have had multiple games with the Itars where it's like I got all 9 starting research tiles and maybe an advanced tech tile and I still lost. It's like, oh yeah, that little side game I was playing is super fun, but it's only effective if it's actually getting me the points I need to win. You got to make sure you're not just getting tech tiles for the sake of getting tech tiles. You have to be building up a comprehensive strategy based upon the round boosters and the round scoring tiles and the end game scoring tiles and everything else going on to make sure that you win. That said, the ability to pretty much every round get 1 or 2 tech tiles in the Gaia phase, oh, it's so sick. It's a really nice way to move up tracks early, to get what you need to get the income generator tech tiles early, get all of them, just all of them for real. and jumping up all the tracks that you want, and just end game, just have a amazing engine where you can kind of fill out the rest of what you wanted to do on that game board to get the points that you need to edge out the Atoma. But really cool faction. Love playing with them, and they are very, very cuddly. It's pretty clear. I haven't cuddled one yet, but how could they not be cuddly? I mean, just look at it. It's so great. Oh, okay. Moving on. That was number 6. Moving on to number 5. Number 5, the space cockroaches themselves. Man, they are ugly, but they have a brainstone. And if you have a brainstone, I think that covers up a multitude of space cockroach ugliness, apparently, because these dudes are just awesome. And I didn't realize how awesome they were until I played this game with my wife's cousin, and he took the Taclons, and he's a big Terra Mystica player back in the day, hasn't played a ton of Gaia. And I'm coming in like, I'm solo playthroughs, dude. Ha 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 ha. And he crushed me because of the freaking brainstone and how easy it was for him to just crush me with those power QIC actions and get that economy humming. Again, Taclon's one of the earliest factions I put on the channel. Definitely had to take another look at them. And when I did, what I saw was number 5 on this list. And that might be a little bit low, to be honest with you, because that brainstone really, really is just an awesome thing to behold when you're getting your engine going and you're able to get it continually back into bin 3, and the number of things you can do with that brainstone when it's there, aided by your Planetary Institute ability and that extra cycling, and you're getting the extra power into your cycle. You could just keep spending that power to continue to advance that brainstone into number 3 and continue to get all those resources on that power QIC track before the Atomic can gobble up those spaces, even if you're playing against the Itars or the Geodens, who are going to, be in a stiffer competition for those spaces than some of the other Atomas. But what a cool faction. I've really loved having another look at them as I've become more proficient in this game, and they are a huge number 5. So there we have it, the Cockroach Brainstone faction, the Taclons. Going to number 4. And number 4, who do we have? The Ferox. Yeah, buddy. The Squid Cthulhu people are representing at number 4 because that Planetary Institute ability is just cool. It's like, research lab, I will take a tactile. I will move up on a research area corresponding to that tactile. I will turn that research lab into a trading station. I will get all the benefits of doing that, including 3 or 4 points on the round booster. And I will also move up on a research area for doing that. Research area of my choice, because why the heck not? Oh, then I'm going to turn that into a research lab again, so I don't have to worry about ever spending that 6 and 6 for these big suckers up here, because I can just keep doing the 5 and 3, which is way cheaper, by the way. Advanced math for you. And I get all the benefits again of a tactile and moving up in a research area. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. It's absolutely gross how many times you can just spam benefits with the Ferox and just keep building research lab, downgrade, research lab, downgrade. It's just awesome. It's really, really fun to play with them. Now, yeah, you are going to need to make sure you're doing everything else you need to do to get some Federation tokens and whatnot, but you're going to have a much easier time of it when you just have moved up on so many research areas and you've gotten the tactiles you need to kind of make all of that happen. So I find them super fun to play. I find them really flexible to play. And that once a round ability where you can just keep downgrading, moving up, downgrading, moving up. And you just want to time it right with the round boosters to make sure you're doing it in a way that's maximizing any available points that are available to you, and kind of build your strategy around that. Gives you some really, really fun, dynamic play that I feel pretty confident will beat the Atoma on hard more than the other factions below it. That's why the Ferox and their squiddy Cthulhu-ness are going to chill at number 4 on this list. Moving on to number 3. And number 3 hits it right on the nose. Yeah, dad jokes for the win. That's what I'm talking about. Look, dude, the Xenos, you just give me 3 mines. You just give me that much more opportunity to camp out where I want to be on the board and do whatever is going to be needed of me as the game progresses. And then I get that Planetary Institute out and I can start forming federations with only 6 power. Oh man, it's super, super nice. Okay, two trading stations, two mines, or I get a academy, a trading station, and two mines. It's not that hard to get the six, especially when you get that 4 points per thing out there, 4 points per planetary institute or academy. Once you get that tactile, well, now all of a sudden, all I need is a trading station and the planetary institute. That's look, an academy. It's like so easy to do. It was just so nice to have again 3 points of attack on the board, see where the atoma is developing, and then you could adjust accordingly. Make sure you're getting in the neighborhood more often. Make sure you're powering more often, getting that power cycle working for you along with everything else. And any kind of end game scoring tile that has to do with number of structures, well, now you're already one up starting from the first turn. It's a really, really cool thing. I like how they play, and they're just really pissed off. It's pretty obvious that this mom Xenos woman has had a very tough day with her toddler Xenos child. And so because of that, I wanted her to be in the top three. So she felt better about her day. I don't think it's improving her demeanor yet, but I think we're going to get there. I just need to be nice to her. And there we go. So Xenos, number three. We got two left. Let's get to it. Number two, the swarming red ant people themselves, the Ivets. Oh my god, I love this faction. I love the thematically what's going on with them too. It's like they start in their hive and now they're just kind of growing their hive and spreading and just taking over the galaxy and just adding power here and there, and boom, these federation tokens that start coming round after round after round. And once you figure out the math and how you can make it happen most effectively, it's just such a freaking cool faction. And these things, I'll tell you what, they just feel like a cheat code, right? It's like, wait, I can do that once around, and that counts as power. And every 7 power, I get another Federation token. It's just great. I love the Ivets, not to mention them getting a QIC and income every round, which is just bananas. Like, it's really, really crazy when I look at this board and I see those two huge benefits that the Ivets get. Number one, that QIC. Number two, that thing which counts as a power. And yeah, I get that you have to spend your QIC to get a satellite. Fine, but you're swarming so much and you're going to have these little things so many places that you don't really need to spend that many QIC for satellites over the course of the game. And yeah, you're giving me one around. So once I get that academy out, well, now I'm getting two QIC around. It's definitely going to be net beneficial just because of how flexible QIC are, that you'll always kind of have what you need to get to the next level and build that swarming hive out bigger and bigger and bigger. So Ivets, I'm a huge fan of them. I love how they play. Super fun to get out on the table and just kind of see that one planetary institute become that sea of red across the cosmos. It's a very, very fun experience. And they are super strong, which is why they're at number two. But there is one better, and it's so stinking obvious and predictable, and it makes me sick to my stomach that I did the obvious and predictable thing, because I try not to on this channel, but sometimes you just gotta give credit where credit's due. So let's get to it. Number one is the stinking Terrans and their humanness that just Gaia forms the heck out of everything and just controls the world. And then they do the Gaia forming and they get that sick benefit of being able to put all that power into bin two, and it cycles, and then they get the Gaia form again. It makes me sick that they're my number one, but they're just that strong. There's no real argument for me of another number one. I love the Ivets. They're really strong. I like the Xenos. I mean, anything from 7 up, I really, really like and feel confident with when I play. But the Terrans, man, are just incredible in how quickly they can get around the board and just gobble up those transcendent planets and gobble up those Gaia planets and get all the points associated with that in any game and get into all the different sectors and just keep getting the benefits of doing it. I mean, with other factions, whenever you put power from your cycle into that Gaia bin, well, So that's gonna come back into bin one, and now I gotta wait. Or unless you're playing the Atars, right? And it's like, I'm just gonna delete 4 of those powers and get a tactile because that's fun, and I'm a space jetty. But with the Terrans, woof, like not only do I get the benefit of the Gaia project I started, I also get the benefit of just cycling that out and getting credit, getting ore, getting a QIC, getting knowledge. It's just really, really, really sick. So yeah, the Terrans are a little bit one tracked in that you just know what you're doing. You got to go for a Gaia forming strategy. So they don't have necessarily the flexibility of like someone like the Ambas. The Terrans are going to go for Gaia forming, but Gaia forming is going to be helpful with so many of those endgame scoring tiles. And Gaia forming is going to get you all the resources you need to do other things while you're doing the Gaia forming that they're just really strong and still sit on the top of the mountain despite my genuine desire to put another faction there just to be different and intriguing and make you all want to watch more of my top tens so I don't just do obvious things. But here we are, and I did the obvious thing, but it was the right thing to do because you just gotta respect the Terrans. I guess. I don't know. They're the best. I don't love playing as them as much as I do some of the other factions, but it's a very cool experience to see how their engine comes together and how strong they are. So look, anybody who has watched all my Gaia videos, I am really appreciative in how many people have really expressed their gratitude for those videos. They were meaningful to me just as I was going deeper and deeper with this game and just kind of had me coming back to like, all right, let me go to the next faction. Gaia has really developed a special place in my collection as I kind of went through those various factions and just fell in love with the game more and more and more. And so impressed with the depth, so impressed with the Atoma system, so impressed with the variety of the factions and how they really are their own puzzles that can really work and be super, super strong. Gaia is obviously a very different game for me in my top 10. And that's a testament to Gaia Project, just how freaking good it is, how rich it is, and how engaging a game of Gaia Project can be once you've learned like the nitty gritty of the rules and you kind of know what's going on. And the Atoma isn't like a chore to operate or run because you just kind of learned your little tricks to how to do it faster. And you can really get more engrossed and engaged with what's going on your board and thinking about the game state and thinking about your various options and kind of seeing some things happen. I love that I've been able to put some wins on the channel playing strategies that were totally not what I expected on doing. And that's such a cool thing about this game. And the stronger factions are, again, the factions that are more likely to be able to pull those off. I mean, I think that Emba's video was hilarious because if you go back within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, I am definitely not going to go up the terraforming track. And what the heck did I do? I blitzed that sucker in the third round because I just saw an opening that just made sense for that game. And it's so cool how many times that happens in Gaia Project now. It's such a great solo game, and these factions are all super fun to play with. Even the bottom four, like playing as the Lantids, the best gods, all of it. It's super interesting how they all play. And it's just a challenge. You like having the underdog once in a while, or at least I do. Let's get the slightly underpowered faction and maybe not play against Hashalas, but play against some of the other Atomas and see if we can't pull out a win or two with changing round boosters and round scoring tiles, end game scoring tiles, and all of it, and kind of see what works with what faction, right? But this game is absolutely amazing. You all are absolutely amazing as people have really continued to support this channel, and we have just grown beyond what I thought we were going to grow when I started this sucker, just kind of goofing around with some Arkham. And here we are on the cusp of finishing my cycle through all of the Gaia Project factions. That was definitely not on my radar when I started this channel. So lots of cool things to come up beyond it. Definitely tune in with me for the best gods when that comes up next month. If you want to see the exact schedule is on my Patreon page. The link will be in the description of this video below. There you can go in. I put a public post every month where you can see the schedule for the month to come or the month that we're in at minimum. I put a new schedule out about a week before the next month with the schedule for that month. While you're there, if there's any tiers of support that makes sense for you, I would definitely appreciate it. Again, the support from my patrons has been a huge part of what's allowed me to invest in this channel over the last couple of years to make the improvements that I made in the viewing experience and the content that I've been able to bring. And I'm so appreciative. So if that's something that makes sense for you, awesome. Other than that, the likes, the comments, the epiphanies, please put them in the comment section below. I will get back to you. I really am curious how this is going to be received. Every time I have put out a top 10 list, someone put a comment that made me think differently about something on the list. And it's super cool about these games and how rich they are. So let me know like what's going on with you and how these factions play for you and what you're most confident with, because that'd be cool. Maybe it would make me take a second look at a faction or two, and I can have more to do in my own solo gaming as I continue to play Gaia Project going forward. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this list. I had a lot of fun. I'll see you in the comments. Until next time, happy gaming.